Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Obi-Wan Kenobi video. Today, we are going to be talking about episode 3 of the new Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, just like with my first video where I talked about episodes 1 and 2, if you have not seen episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, do not watch this video because I am going to be talking spoilers. I'm going to be talking about this series episode by episode, except for the premiere, because the premiere was 2 episodes, so I covered both of those episodes into one video, but now each episode will be its own video. So you have been warned. We're going to be talking about spoilers because there's a lot to talk about and a lot that I want to talk about. So let's start with episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This one, God, man, the feels, the chills, the emotions. This episode was just great. We get an amazing opening scene with Obi-Wan meditating, hearing the voices of Qui-Gon, Anakin, and Qui-Gon and Yoda. I was going to say Qui-Gon twice. And then we get a cut to Anakin being assembled in the Darth Vader costume. That was just... I do want to say, before we get into more specific stuff with this episode, huge props to Deborah Chow. She directed the absolute shit out of this episode. You deserve a round of applause. Like, everybody deserves a round of applause for this show, but the way she directed this episode was just absolutely perfect, and we're going to go more into that in a second. So, basically, the main gist of this episode is Obi-Wan and little Leia, who's adorable, have arrived at a new planet. They're trying to get out so that way they can get Leia back to Alderaan safe and sound. They end up hitchhiking a ride through with some stormtroopers, and Obi-Wan sees the hallucination of Hayden Christensen as Anakin in his robes, looking all evil-like. That was really cool to see. I'm hoping we get to see more of Hayden. I know he's in the Vader suit, but I hope we get to see more of him. We still got 3 episodes to go, so there's a lot that could happen. But I thought that little scene of Obi-Wan hallucinating out into the desert and looking at Anakin looking all angry like was just really, really cool. So eventually they get pulled over by some stormtroopers. There's a little bit of a shootout, and someone who's pretending to be an Imperial officer rescues Obi-Wan and Leia and takes them into town where they're going to take a secret passageway, get on a transport, and get the heck out of this planet. Hopefully get to Alderaan, or whatever kind of another planet they're going to go to. And then we get the... I can't wait to talk about this. And again, if you haven't seen this episode yet, go watch it for yourself and then come back. It's nighttime. Obi-Wan and Leia are about to escape. But then the Inquisitors arrive along with stormtroopers, and then out in the shadows, we hear Darth Vader's breathing. And he comes in, and Vader is essentially... God, the way that Deborah filmed this was just perfect. He is a force to be reckoned with. He's Vader. He's Vader in all his glory. He's just walking down this street, force choking anybody he sees, trying to lure Obi-Wan by playing on the emotion, trying to lure him out. He's freaking force choking people, shooing them aside. He snapped a dude's neck, and he's dragging somebody on the floor. Like, Jesus, that was so cool. So then, yeah, that happens, and then we get our first, I know we're going to get another one. I'm willing to bet right now. We get our first confrontation between Obi-Wan and Vader. And essentially, Obi-Wan is very rusty. He is essentially almost kind of like Luke was in The Empire Strikes Back. Actually, the more that I think about it, I think Luke was a little bit more better prepared than Obi-Wan in this instance. But Obi-Wan is getting the absolute shit kicked out of him. Vader clearly has the upper hand. And one thing I liked about this is that Vader is clearly toying with Obi-Wan. And another reason why I can prove that is because when Vader is fighting Luke in The Empire Strikes Back, in the beginning of the fight, he's using one hand because that's all he needs to fight Luke, because he knows that Luke isn't to that point yet, but there's potential. So he's essentially toying with Luke, and he does the same thing with Obi-Wan, where he's just fighting one hand. Like, he can fight him with one hand behind his back and totally kick Obi-Wan's ass. And it was absolutely great. And I love the fact that Obi-Wan was rusty because, again, 10 years have gone past since Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan has not used the Force, and he's not practiced with a lightsaber in that time. So he's not in his prime, which honestly makes sense. And eventually he is going to get to that point as we see him in A New Hope, even though, the fight within A New Hope isn't that crazy. Obi-Wan is still very powerful in that movie. So we know eventually he's going to be using more of the Force. He's going to be training a little bit more, because if you watched Rebels, there's some other stuff that happens in Rebels. But yeah, I clearly like that. Then we get to the ending where Reva has found Leia and is going to take her away to probably to the Inquisitor camp. Probably. I'd be very surprised where else that she would take her. But anyway, Reva's going after Leia, and we get the final moments of our first battle between Obi-Wan and Vader, where Vader fucking lights rocks on fire and drags Obi-Wan's ass with one hand just like being scorched in the fire. And it's only a mere fraction of the suffering and pain that Vader wants Obi-Wan to feel, which makes sense, because I've heard a lot of people say that, Vader wasn't as rageful, like he wasn't as angry as he should have been, and the fact that throughout this scene, towards the ending, when the fire comes back up thanks to the fake Imperial officer, why doesn't Vader just go after him? Well, that's the thing. Vader wants Obi-Wan to suffer. After everything that supposedly Obi-Wan has taken from Vader, Vader wants him to suffer. So it makes sense why he would just kind of let him go away, because he knows that when he comes back, maybe Obi-Wan's going to be stronger. Maybe he's going to get that fight that he really wants. But at this point, he wants to make Obi-Wan suffer, and that's what he's going to do. And if that means, going at him one-handed with the lightsaber, doing all this stuff, maybe. But I had no problems with the ending. And, the fact that Obi-Wan got his arm just, god damn, that sucks. And that was just a mere fraction of what else Vader had up his sleeve. But the way that the scene was shot, like Vader with the fire up and Vader with his hand, or just forced choking Obi-Wan, and then that ending scene where you just see Vader's helmet and the fire just glowing around it. It was just, again, Deborah Chow did an amazing job with this episode. There was a little bit of a lack of music. I did notice that because I actually just rewatched this for the third time. It doesn't really bother me that much, but I know that they're setting up for a more grander scale fight, because again, we still have 3 episodes left of this show, and I know that fight that we had just seen is not going to be the final fight between these two for these series. I know that for a fact. And I know that a lot of people are still kind of giving this show a little bit of crap from what they've seen, but honestly, I'm enjoying the absolute hell out of this show. And again, we still have a ways to go. We still have 3 weeks left of this show, guys. So who knows what else is going to happen? There's a lot of theories and whatnot. But just to give my overall grade, this episode was perfect. It was everything I wanted. There were great surprises. A little bit of a slowdown in the middle, but other than that, just a great time. I loved hearing James Earl Jones as Vader. I loved the briefest second of seeing Hayden's face when the Vader helmet is going down, and then just seeing him in his Jedi robes being hallucinated by Obi-Wan. It was just great, and I'm going to give episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi a 9 out of 10. This was great. Clearly the best episode so far, but I have enjoyed every single episode of this show so far. I have not been disappointed, and I'm very excited to see where it goes, because we only have 3 episodes left. But I had my predictions, guys. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get too much into spoilers. But I'm liking where this is going, and I'm very curious to know where else it will go. And just seeing Vader again in all his glory, and I know that's not the last we're going to see of him, and I can't wait to see where else this goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. We got a couple big things happening very soon. For one thing, for the new Marvel show, Miss Marvel, which I believe comes to Disney Plus next week, that I'm not going to be doing an episode by like Obi-Wan and what I did early on with my Marvel series. I'm going to wait for that show to finish up before I talk about it, but I am looking forward to it. And then next Thursday, I probably won't get around to recording it on, I'll have it recorded, but I probably won't have it uploaded in time, but I will have a first reaction for the brand new Jurassic World Dominion. I'm very much looking forward to that. And also, the next Wednesday, we're going to be talking about episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So a lot to come, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.